I'm with Paul Franklin, visual effects supervisor from Double Negative, who worked on Inception, The Dark Knight, and Batman Begins. And how is it to work with Christopher Nolan? Does he give you very strict instructions or leaves you space for your creativity?
Chris is a very collaborative filmmaker. He chooses his people very, very carefully, and he wants them to be creative partners with him on in the filmmaking process. Obviously, it's his film. Involved in every aspect of the film, and he has very clear ideas about what he wants. But he's never prescriptive. He's never telling you you've got to make it look exactly like this. I've seen something somewhere else. He wants you to go away and come up with your own creative ideas and come back, and then see whether they fit into the film or not. And that's always the biggest challenge: is making sure that your own ideas are strong enough to be part of his film.
I heard something about a folding city that you have enough space to add your vision about other than the script.
Well, what we did for the folding Paris
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
scene, the script was fairly loose at that stage in terms of describing what you were actually seeing. It just says the street begins to fold in half and it turns into a cube of city, and then Ariadne and Cobb walk around on the inside of this cube. But there was no indication as to how we'd go from A to B,
Yeah.
how it would actually fold up. And one of the things that we drew on is I talked to Chris about how the drawbridges in Chicago would raise up over the Chicago River when we were filming Batman Begins. And it looks like the street is basically folding along a huge hinge and lifting
Yeah.
up. And all the road markings go with it, the sidewalks, the lampposts. And I said, well, how about we take that idea and we extend it round? We have a whole series of these drawbridges all folding up at the same time to produce this huge sort of arcing thing coming over. And then, in Paris, it was one of the things that immediately struck us was the way that the buildings are quite regularly shaped. So we could have this idea that the buildings then plug into each other, and it's almost like the street is reflected across the roof line. And that was great, and he liked that idea, and so we went away and we made some animations and showed them to him, and he liked them so much that he had my laptop on the set and used the animation to then cue Leo and Ellen to tell them where they're supposed to be looking, and get the cameraman, Wally Pfister, our fantastic director of photography, to get him to point in the right direction.
Okay, in the zero G scenes, it's like a mix of Stanley Kubrick 2001 and The Matrix, but totally original
Yeah.
anyway. Which part were special effects? Which part were digital?
Well, the whole zero gravity and hotel sequence is a fantastic combination of special effects, amazing stunt work from the stunt department, and visual effects to finish it off. And the zero gravity stuff was a good example of Chris's philosophy of trying to get as much as possible for real in camera. So you start out with something that's real, and then even if you are completely replacing it digitally later on, you've always got a reality basis, a basis of reality to start out from. In the case of the zero gravity stuff, whenever they're floating around on wires and they're true zero gravity, they're on wire rigs as they're floating around inside the set. And we are digitally painting out the wires, and we're adding things like other floating objects and helping sell the idea of zero gravity. The sequence, though, where they're running around on the insides of the walls, inside the corridor, as the whole thing tumbles over, that's entirely practical. That was done for real with a giant set that rotated. So it's again, if you can do it for real, do it for real. But it requires a lot of planning and a lot of very clever people to do that sort of thing.
So you did also have a real train on the street, an avalanche, and you made explode a real fortress for the
Yeah.
movie.
Yes, we did. We had a real train. Well, we had a special effects train, which is a train. It's a fiberglass shell, a replica of a real train, built on top of the chassis of a truck. So we have a truck driving along with a big train over it. And what we did in visual effects is we got rid of its tyres. You could see the rubber wheels, and then we added the sort of tram lines it was leaving behind it in the tarmac. And then the avalanche is a real avalanche. We worked with avalanche wranglers, guys who go up in helicopters and throw sticks of dynamite into the snow, boom, and all the snow comes down the mountain. What we did with visual effects is we added little people, the guys rolling away from the avalanche, and we added the snow fortress in the background. And then finally, when we blew the base up, we started by blowing up the actual set that we built on location in Canada. And then we switched to, we cut to shots of a miniature, a physical miniature that we built, which was a 6th scale miniature. It's about, trying to think of this in meters, let me see, it was about, that would be about 15 meters high, so it was quite tall, about 45 feet tall. And then we augmented that with digital graphics as well, so it's a combination of every technique you can think of.
Which city were the hardest to create? Gotham City or the Limbo City?
I think definitely Limbo City. I mean, Gotham City was a big challenge, and it was the hardest thing we'd ever done at that point, because it had to look completely real, and it had to sit in seamlessly with Chicago. But at the same time, you already know what it's supposed to look like, because you have pictures of Chicago, and you can go there and you can see it, you can photograph it, and so you're just reproducing that environment and extending it. With Limbo City, we were making something completely new. You can't go and photograph that anywhere. You can find bits of it, maybe a crumbled building here or something that's a bit decayed and abandoned somewhere else. But then the overall shape of it, this sort of mutant city collapsing into the sea, that was something we had to create from scratch, and that required a huge amount of effort and a lot of clever technical work.
Okay, so Batman 3 is gonna become a reality. Do you know something about? The script is finished, pre-production,
Well,
production shooting.
from what I know is they are in very early pre-production at the moment. Chris is working on a script. Nothing will really begin to happen until Chris is happy with his script. He'll take his own time to get that right, and I think that's the way to do it. And in terms of what the story is, other than Batman's in it, I have no idea what's in there. Chris keeps things very, very close to his chest.
He loves his secret.
Absolutely, yes, indeed. He's the security on Chris's movies is extreme compared to most other films, but it works. Nobody gets to know anything until he's ready to let them know, and I think that's the way it should be done. Keep it special.
Okay, thank you so much, Paul,
welcome.
and good luck for the speech.
Thank you very much. Thanks.